All right. And now I need to share my screen. Come on. There we go. And share this. F5. All right. So can everybody see that? Are you seeing? We're good? All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in to our High5 Live. I am not Barb Moses. Barb Moses is in the dining room disguised as Dominic Oaxaca. So you will see her there. But I appreciate everyone joining us tonight. My lovely assistant, Michelle, will be driving the controls for us tonight. So thank you, Michelle, for that. And I need to get this out of the way. And cool. So once again, thank you for joining our High5 Live. Of course, my name is Kevin Fink, and I am the Chief Dream Officer for High5 Leadership. Calling in tonight from beautiful San Diego, chilly San Diego. Barb's got her fireplace on. It's so chilly here. And I think it's 62 degrees or something, but it's very, very cold here. And wherever you are, I'm sure it's colder, but that's okay. We're not there. Tonight, our topic is on dreams. And this is an important topic because what I have discovered in my 20+ years in financial services is that most people at some point have stopped dreaming. And so I'm going to pop up our first poll. Actually, there's 2 questions on this poll. So let me go ahead and allow panelists to vote, launch the polling. All right. So the 2 poll questions I have for you. The first one is, do you still dream about your life like you did when you were a child? Yes or no? And the second question is, when did you stop dreaming? So if you no longer dream, when did you stop dreaming? And we'll give you a couple of seconds here to give your poll answers. All right, so we got a yes and some no's, and that's everybody. All right. So does this show the results? Here we go. All right. So here's what we got. We had one person said yes, and the rest said no. And of those that said no, stopped dreaming in their 20s. And that really has been my experience as well. We're working with my clients over the last 20 years in financial services. What I discovered was that most people at some point as they got into their 20s, likely when they got out of college and got into their first real job, they stopped dreaming to some degree. In many cases, they stopped dreaming altogether. And as life got more, as adulting became more and more prevalent, and the requirements of adult life and work and kids and all the things that go along with being an adult came along, at some point they stopped dreaming about the things that they wanted in their life. And it's important that we talk about this because you need to dare to dream. I was reading a book on dreams, and it asked a question, so why should we dream? I'm just going to read this to you very quickly because I found it to be very profound. It says, without dreams, there's no progress. Even more importantly, without dreams, thoughts, and wishes, there is no reality. Everything that mankind has created and achieved has come from a thought, a dream, or a wish in someone's mind. Not only is there nothing new under the sun, there's nothing new if someone doesn't think it beforehand. So dare to dream. What do you want in your life? You know, we talk about in our classes the importance of setting outcomes. We have our students set 30-day outcomes every 30 days. And my question to them is always, what are your outcomes leading you to? So it's great to have an outcome for the next 30 days, but what's the bigger dream? And that's really what we're going to focus on tonight is how do you begin the process again of dreaming? Why is it important? And what are the steps that you can take to begin that process again? Where's my mouse? There we are. Helen Keller said, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. And my question to you then is, do you have vision? What is your vision? Do you dream? So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up and just want to ask you, if you answer the question that you stopped dreaming, the question is why? Why did you stop dreaming? And what are some of the dreams that you had that you either have given up on or you just kind of let go by the wayside that in your mind you no longer are dreaming? So you are free to unmute yourselves. You don't need to raise your hands or anything like that. So who will share where you're at as it relates to your dreams?
It's kind of weird. I think I stopped dreaming at some point because I just very easily fell into routines and started doing things one way and got very set on a notion that I wasn't really going to do that much more, honestly, at that point, which was odd in early 20s, right? So I stopped dreaming, and now going through what we do here, I've started dreaming again, which was kind of an odd thing to do because, yeah, it was a weird realization that I just kind of settled into a status quo and sort of realized that, and we talk about things being good enough, but it kind of life became that way. And, I had it all figured out. It was a nice big comfort zone and I stopped pushing it.
Yeah. And would you agree, Will, that when you did that it became a situation more of letting life happen to you rather than making it happen because of you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the scary thing was, for a long time, I probably would have been okay with that. It's weird to sit back and look at it and go, I could have probably lived the rest of my life that way.
Yeah, and the sad thing for me, anyway, is that that's how most people are going through life, truly just sitting on the sidelines, letting life happen to them rather than making it happen because of them. And it's totally up to you to choose whether or not you dream. So, and over time, dreams can change. Dreams do change. One quick story that I'll share about my dreams is when I was a little kid, I remember I must have been maybe 5 years old, maybe 6 years old. And I remember watching on television the launch of a rocket. NASA was sending a rocket somewhere. It may have even still been one of the early moon landings, because this had to have been maybe 1973, 1974, because it was one of the old Saturn rockets that I remember watching on TV. And I was just fascinated by this rocket. And in that moment, I decided I will be an astronaut someday. And that dream stayed with me up until I went to college. I actually was accepted at Purdue into their aeronautical and astronautical engineering program. I was headed to Purdue to become an astronaut. And for whatever reason, my dream changed. I no longer wanted to be an astronaut. That's not really true. I wanted to be an astronaut. I just didn't want to do all the engineering stuff that was required to be an astronaut. But I gave up that dream. And as I started putting together this Dream Guide program and going back and thinking about sitting down, writing out what are my dreams, one of the first ones that still came back to me was my dream is to fly in space. And to me, you don't have to be an astronaut. So no longer do we have to be an astronaut to go fly in space. But it is still my dream to fly in space. I didn't lose that dream, but how I'm going to get it perhaps has changed. So yeah, and it's okay for over time for our dreams to change, but again, we're the ones that are in control of that. So thanks for breaking the ice, Will. Who's next? Who else will share kind of what your thoughts are as to when you stopped dreaming, or for whoever was that answered that they still dream, talk to us about that.
I answered that I do not dream, and it became a connotation for me that dreaming became something that's just not possible. So as I get older, or I think I wrote down that I stopped either in the 20s or 30s, that as I got older, those dreams aren't going to happen. You know, they put the connotation of it's a pipe dream, and it seemed like it's a waste of time at that point. I didn't see the value in it. That's why I originally stopped.
Okay, so you put those constraints on, you put those limitations and said it's not going to happen, or it's a pipe dream, or in your mind it was impossible and therefore no longer worth having as a dream. Is that right?
Yeah, it's an unconscious thought that dreams don't come true.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of where that came from? It just kind of came to you one day.
Just a negative point of view.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks, Dominic. You know, it's common, again, that one of the reasons that people stop dreaming is for that very reason. They place limitations or constraints on their belief system about how it's going to happen, because that's really where they get focused, is how am I going to do this, right? So if my dream is to fly in space, and right now, if I'm not an employee of NASA, I'm not in the astronaut program, well, the question is, can I still fly in space? The answer is, yeah, I absolutely could still fly in space. It would cost probably somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million, which I don't happen to have laying around right now. So many people would look at that and say, well, you know, I don't know when I'm going to have $500,000 to $1 million of spare cash laying around. So I guess, you know, flying in space doesn't come true. And if that's the limitation or constraint that I put on it, then by no means will I ever fly in space, because I've self-limited that. So one of the key components to dreaming is truly just putting it out there into the universe, what you want, what it is that you really want to achieve or have in your life, without any concerns about how is that going to happen, or will it happen, or any reasonableness test that you might want to put around it. Because as soon as you do that, you truly reduce the probability of it ever happening, because you are going to make yourself right. If you say, well, you know, that's not going to ever happen, well, then chances are that's not going to ever happen. So one of the things that we do when we take people through our Dream Guide program is the first thing I have them do is write down their top 100 dreams without constraint. Doesn't matter whether you think it's crazy, doesn't matter whether you think it's to be, you know, the president of, you know, the global universe, whatever, just put it down and don't worry about how it's going to happen. The first step truly is just getting it out there. Who else? Anyone else like to share where you're at as it relates to the dreams that you have, or if you've stopped dreaming, kind of what that was all about for you?
I guess I'll go on this one. It seems like a common theme for me for the last week and a half since we talked about this, and it's tough. And I think, thinking back now, my biggest thing was when I think my first dream was I wanted to be a video game designer. I love video games. I'm just a geek. That's all there is to it. And I'd been accepted into a school online. It was one of the first ones back in like 2001. And my dad goes, "How are you going to pay for it? You can't go to that. You got to go to this." And I think at that point, I stopped dreaming, because I was supposed to live in the real world. I was supposed to have this job, be and do all this stuff, and know exactly what I wanted to be by the time I was 21. I'm 35 now, and I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah. And where else? So thanks, Adam. You know, where else are we letting other people tell us what we can and can't do based on their reality and what they believe to be the truth to be, right? But it happens all the time. So it's funny that you mentioned that want to be a video game designer, because when so I got accepted, as I said, to Purdue University as an engineer, and when I told my parents that I was not going to be an astronaut, and that what I wanted to do was I wanted to get a computer science degree, my dad's comment at that point was, you don't need to go to Purdue, and I don't need to spend this kind of money for you to play video games, because in his mind, that's what a computer scientist did, was played video games. He said, you can go to the local community college and stay at home if that's what you're going to do. But yeah, you know, where else are we limiting ourselves based on other people's belief systems, or as I like to refer to it, their BS, their belief systems. and letting them place limitations on what's possible for us. So this really is just about figuring out what you want in your life and then having the courage to go get it. All right, anybody else before we move on?
I'll just jump in real quick because I don't have a lot to add. However, my truth is I was living the life that was prescribed or before me, I'll say, until I started to figure this stuff out. And then I started to dream again. And so I always laugh in the fact that High5 certainly wasn't a dream, but it wasn't even anywhere on the radar that I would ever own my own company and do that kind of stuff, because that's not what I did. I went to college, I got the degree, and I got something really like solid so that I could do this, and it was following the plan. And it wasn't until I realized that I could choose to live the life I wanted that I started to dream again. And now my dream has come true.
Yeah.
Still coming true.
Still coming true, in the process of coming true.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks, Barb.
Because we are just getting started.
We're just getting started, of course. Thank you. Yeah, and that's what I said earlier, that dreams do change, and the things, some of the things that we thought as little kids, we didn't know what was possible. We didn't know where life would take us. But again, it really is just about the process of continuously recreating ourselves and staying focused on the things that we really, really want in life. All right, so moving on. Poll question number 2. Do you have a vision? So how do I get to stop sharing? And how do relaunch polling? Continue. Oops, that's the first one again. How do I get to the second poll? Oh, there we go. There we go. Boom, there's the new poll. Okay, so do you have a defined vision for yourself? Yes or no? Do you have a vision? So again, think back to that Helen Keller quote that I had earlier on, right? The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. All right. So, all right, that's everybody. All right. And so it's 50-50. 2 of you said yes, and a couple of you said no. All right. So what's the deal with vision? It all starts with having vision, kind of knowing where is it that you want to go. So I'm going to actually open it up back here since we have such a quaint crowd. So those of you who said yes, that you have vision, share with us what your vision is. When you think about vision, what do you think about what vision is? Those of you who said yes.
To me, the vision is a focus of an outcome. So I have an outcome in mind and what that looks like, and that doesn't always mean I know the way to it. I just know what the end result looks like.
Okay.
So I have it's kind of like having a vision across the river of something that I want. I don't know how I'm going to get across the river just yet, but I see it.
Okay. Awesome. And that's a great definition. Thank you. Who else?
And for me, because we were doing it by
proxy.
Proxy. Well, yeah, is so my vision, and I've gotten really clear. And so this is my vision for High5, and I got really clear on this a couple of years ago, and it's not changed, although I may or may not use the exact words. Is to wake the world up to its most joyous potential. And for me, everything that we do at High5 is wrapped around that vision.
Okay. So that's your vision for High5, Barb. Do you also have a vision for your personal life? And is it separate from your vision at High5?
It is, and my vision for my personal life is my only purpose is joy, my only truth is love. It's just to create as much joy and love in my life as possible.
Awesome. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else, whether you do or you don't have vision? Anybody else say that they did have vision?
Yeah, I said no because I feel like mine is still crystallizing. I'm very much in a curious state. There are certain things that I know I'm clear on what I want and certain steps I'm taking to go there. I still feel like I could do better defining exactly what the things are that I want. And I know it changes, and I know I can refine as I go. I don't have to set a vision now and then I'm stuck for it with the rest of my life. But I feel like I'm not crystal clear. I feel like I'm getting clearer.
Okay, great. Thanks, Will. So what I'm about to go through with you here are some steps that I found in a book that I'm reading, which is Lewis Howe's School of Greatness. I don't know if you can see that. Lewis Howe's School of Greatness. And it's a really fascinating book. And the first chapter, what he talks about is he talks about the importance of vision and how it leads towards reaching your dreams. And so it was so good, I just borrowed it and thought I would incorporate it as part of the Dream Guide program because it does such a great job of setting the foundation. So dreaming really is about seeing a vision of yourself and what you want your world and your life and your universe to look like. So these are his 4 steps to creating vision. The first is to print out a certificate of achievement. So of course, in the High5 world, if you went through our class, hopefully you received your certificate of excellence. And the certificate of achievement is one of those visual documents, a way to actually see, like literally print out, this is my goal or this is my vision, as though you've already achieved it. So see it as though you've already achieved it. The second thing he talks about is creating your perfect day itinerary, both from a macro as well as a micro standpoint. And I'm going to go through each one of these with you here in just a second. To come up with a personal principles declaration. So how do you know when you're doing the right thing? When you come to a decision point in life, how do you know which way to go? What are your guiding principles? And then finally, he would have you come up with a personal statement plan. So let's walk through each of those components. So the first one literally is to make a certificate of achievement indicated that you've already achieved your dream. I remember the story of, what's the comedian, Dumb and Dumber? Michelle, help me.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey, thank you, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, he basically was broke, penniless, living out of his car, and he decided one day that he was going to write himself a check for $10 million. And so he did. He got a piece of paper and he made it look like a check, and he wrote, pay to the order of Jim Carrey, $10 million. He put a date on it. I think it was like 1994, 1997, something like that. And he put it in his wallet, and he visualized himself receiving payment for services rendered of $10 million. And he said he carried that thing in his wallet. And he didn't put, the date that he put was not really that far in the future. It was only maybe 8 to 10 years in the future, if it was even that much. And literally, and he said this thing, he kept it in his wallet, and he'd pull it out and he'd look at it periodically, and it got tattered and it got faded, but he kept it there, and he just kept visualizing himself receiving this check for $10 million. And literally within about 2 months of the date that he put on that check, he received a check for $10 million for, I believe it was the first Dumb and Dumber movie, for services rendered. So that's really the idea behind the certificate of achievement. So whatever it is, the dream that you have, put it, download a certificate of achievement, write it in, put your name on it, and see yourself achieving that dream on that date in the future. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is to plan what your perfect day looks like. So now, once you see yourself achieving that dream, now what you do is you create a perfect day. So what does it look like when you wake up? And if you remember back a couple screens ago, I talked about both a macro day and a micro day. So the macro day, so I took the opportunity, I went through this exercise myself, and I came up with my perfect day. And this is what my perfect day looks like. This is the macro perfect day. It says, in my perfect day, I wake up next to the love of my life, and she's crying tears of joy because she's so excited about the life we're experiencing together. I'm preparing to deliver a speech to 10,000 entrepreneurs and executives, so I'm meditating and reviewing and refilling my energy. Then I'm working with my Dream Guide clients, helping them focus on their biggest dreams and building their financial plans. I finish the day focusing on gratitude and love of my family and the fun way I get to show up to impact the lives of the people I encounter. I love my life. So that's an example of a macro day. And then you go in and you do your micro day. So a micro day literally starts with 8 a.m., woke up, meditated, took a shower. 8 a.m. Yeah, you heard me, Barb. 8 a.m. That's a stretch, I know. 9 o'clock, ate a healthy breakfast. 10 o'clock, made 3 phone calls. So literally going in and blocking out on a micro level every hour of what the perfect day looks like. So what are the things that you need to do in order to move toward that dream, achieving that dream? So I understand what the big picture looks like, and then I understand what the individual components look like. So plan out what your perfect day looks like. Step number 3, what are your 5 core values that guide you in making your decisions when times get tough? So here he talks about creating a personal principles declaration. So again, going through that process myself, I came up with my 5 personal principles. So the first one is, I'm grateful for my family and the people in my life who love and trust me. So a focus on gratitude. Number 2, I forgive myself and others. Number 3, I am courageous and take risks to reach my dreams. Number 4, I focus on having fun in everything I do. I find humor in everything. And number 5, I love myself and I focus on spreading love to everyone that I meet. So if I were to go back and look at what my 5 core values are, they are gratitude, forgiveness, courage, fun, and love. So what are your 5? And it doesn't have to be 5, it could be 6, it could be 4, but what are your guiding values? Do you know what those values are? And because that's really your steering mechanism, so that when you get to that tough point, that decision point, and you have to go one way or the other, how do you know which one to choose? So those are my 5. My question to you is, do you know your 5? Do you have 5? And do you know what they are? And do you live by them? All right. And then finally, we put it all together in a personal statement plan. And again, if you went through our 3-day class, you actually did some of this type of work. We took you through a little exercise called Going Inside, where we ask some of these very same questions. So again, if you've been through the class, you've already done some of this work. And so it literally is sitting down and answering the question for yourself, who am I? What do I stand for? What's my vision for myself, my family, and the world? So where do I see myself? Where do I see the team that I have, my close-knit team, my family? And then what's my vision for how I'm going to show up in the world? And you use your values and you use your personal, your perfect day and all those tools to then create and craft your personal statement plan. This really will help you. This little exercise will help you get very clear on what your vision is. So now you know where you're going, so that as you start to have these dreams and think about, what are the things that I really want in my life? Where do I want to go? What do I want to experience? What kind of relationships do I want to have? Who do I want to be? How do I want to be remembered? All of those different areas are the areas where you can be dreaming. And if you know what the vision is, you begin to see how all those pieces fit into place. So he says in his book, that creating a vision is about clearly defining what you want. Those are your goals. And who you want to be, that's your dreams. So your goals are defining what you want, and your dreams are defining who you want to be in the world and in life. That's a great starting point. And then he says, it's in the doing that the goals actually become real. So it's great to sit down and plan and think about, yeah, I want to go to all 7 continents, and I want to fly in space, and I want to be, I want to be remembered as the fun dad, and whatever those dreams are. But then you got to go out and you got to take action and do it. All right, so let's chat. So who would like to share, based on what we kind of just talked about there, who would like to share what you're getting out of this, and maybe what some of your values are? What are the thoughts that you're having right now based on what we just went through?
That last thing that you just read out loud from Mr. Howes sounded to me, when he's talking about the goals and the dreams,
Yeah.
sounds like the what and the why.
Yep.
Like, this is your what and this is why.
Absolutely. And we know that we start with why, right? So why am I here? Who am I? And what's my purpose in the world? So very good.
Kev, when we were talking about vision, and I had a really good answer, but so you asked about my vision for High5 and then my vision for myself. And I thought I was pretty quick on my feet. And I've been sitting here thinking, what really is my vision for myself, my personal vision? Because I'm so wrapped up in High5, right? It all kind of becomes one for me. And so for me, it's getting crystal clear about what my vision is for me and what that looks like. So yeah, I'm clear about who I want to be for High5, and what our goals are, and getting more and more clear about our goals, right? That those change for High5. So now it's time to do a little work that I will do between now and the end of the year on Fort Moses.
Yeah. So just like we tell our students, right? It's personal and professional, right?
Yeah. And I go first.
And I go first. Yay.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Barb.
Good stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Who else? Who haven't we heard from for a while? Crystal, you out there? We'll call on you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Crystal. Yeah,
Hi.
welcome.
I guess when I started, I was thinking, I voted that I had stopped dreaming back in my 20s. And I think kind of similar to what everybody else said was I kind of just got caught up in the real world and trying to be realistic with my goals. And, I wanted to be a photographer for National Geographic, but how's that going to pay my bills, kind of thing. So I went to work for the grocery store where I'd get a paycheck every week. And I think I just kind of got wrapped up in living that kind of life, and instead of dreaming and figuring out what more I can get for myself. And then when you asked about vision, I thought, well, I think I have a vision for myself, and especially now that I'm pregnant, I really see a vision for myself as well as my family. And I think it was Dominic that said, well, I have this vision, but I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there. So I think I appreciate you sharing the 4 steps to creating a vision, because I think that will kind of give me an idea of how to actually maybe get there, or clarify or get crystal clear on some steps that can move me in the right direction. Because having dreams and goals, or having dreams and visions are one thing, but like one of your quotes said, is you kind of have to do something about it.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that, Crystal, and congratulations on being pregnant. Yay. Little high five baby.
Yep.
You know, so notice that Dominic said, and his point was very, very relevant, where he said it's the what and the why.
Mm-hmm.
The how wasn't in there at all. The how is not really important. That's not the important part, because the how comes from taking action. So the doing, right? So once we have that vision, once we are clear about what are the goals, what are the dreams, then the only thing that we have to do is figure out what's the very first step that I can take. What can I do that will move me toward that goal? And it's the same things that we teach in our 3-day class, which is your 30-day outcome. You don't need to know every step of the way from here to there. All you need to do is take the first step.
Okay.
And once you take the first step, then you can look around and see, where am I? Where am I headed? What are the resources that are available to me? And what's the next step that I have to take, or that I get to take?
Okay.
And it's just a matter of figuring out what's the next step. You don't have to plan it all the way out, because the danger of planning it all the way out is saying, okay, first I'll do this step, and then I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, is that some circumstance is gonna show up in the middle of the plan, and it's gonna wreck the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of staying focused on what you want and taking one step at a time, reevaluating, figuring out what's the next step, and figuring out the next step. Because you don't know what resources are going to come available when you need them. But what we know is that the resources are always available. It's just a matter of, is our vision broad enough that we can see where the resources are? Because as we know, there's total abundance in the universe, and all we have to do, and of course there's that universal conspiracy for our success, that's always working for us. And so it's just a matter of saying, what else is possible? What's the next step? And sometimes our dreams, they manifest in ways that we don't necessarily expect them to, right? It might be that I have a dream of doing something, but instead of me doing that, whatever it is, it might be my passion about it that brings it into being through somebody else. And I'll give you an example. I was doing a call earlier today, and one of our graduates was talking about how she was raised as an orphan. She was raised in an orphanage, and as a teenager in that orphanage, she felt very lost and alone. And that, you know, once kids get to be teenagers, there's just not a lot of opportunities to be adopted. And so what they do is, in many cases, they put them in homes that are not very nice. They lock them away, and they medicate them, and they do all kinds of terrible things. And she said her dream was to create a home for teenagers that didn't have parents, and give them the kind of family and feeling that they wouldn't feel the way she did. And so that was her dream. She had a vision of what the house looked like. She knew exactly how it would be laid out, the kinds of things they would do, the responsibilities. I mean, she was passionate about it. And she said, but you know what? I've let that dream go, because now, you know, I'm getting to my middle age, and I don't have the resources, and all the constraints and all the reasons why it wasn't going to happen. And it was so interesting to watch her energy, because as she was talking about what she was going to do and what the house looked like, her energy was high. She was excited. And then when she started talking about all the reasons it wasn't going to work, her energy got slow, and her body language began to slump. And it was just very, very obvious to me and anybody else that was watching what was happening. And what I said to her was, you know, that excitement and enthusiasm that you have about that dream, your dream was that you were going to go out and create this house, but you know what? You don't necessarily even have to create the house. Your enthusiasm and passion for it, you don't know that when you're out there talking about what this might look like and what this could do for people, you don't know if the person sitting next to you, you know, has a gazillion dollars and they're just looking for something to do with it, but because of your passion and enthusiasm, they decide to provide the funds. So it's just staying focused on that outcome. So you don't know that how it's going to show up. All you got to do is stay focused on what you want, keep putting it out there in the universe, being focused, being driven, keep moving forward, and then watch what happens. So thank you for participating with that, Crystal. Who else? Anybody else? What are you getting out of this? What are you finding? What are your values? What did you get out of this? Michelle, we haven't heard from you.
Oh my God, I hear this all the time.
You're so lucky.
I am lucky, actually.
No,
So I keep sitting here. I'm keep looking at your screen that you've shared that says, "Where do I begin?" So it doesn't necessarily pertain to your question about what are you getting out of this.
Yep.
But the where do I begin and the where do I begin? The simplest, the answer that pops into my head immediately and just keeps showing up is to simply believe it. And I honestly think it's very simple, but it is not easy. Everybody, I really think that's based on conversations that I've had with people and in my own brain. The actually believing it is not, again, it's not easy. And what I'm thinking about is I have my own, well, as you know, I have my own business as a independent consultant for Arbonne, which is a health and wellness company. And Arbonne has when you attain a certain level within the company, they reward you with a white Mercedes. And I've seen the white Mercedes. I've seen a parking lot full of them. I know somebody who has earned 2, and yet I really don't. And I initially, when I started, I talked a big game, and I would joke about being able to smell the leather of the seats and all that kind of thing. But I honestly don't. I honestly don't think I really believe it. And so that's the easiest place to begin, or the simplest place to begin, and yet the hardest thing to do.
So thank you for that. You got to believe it before you see it, because if you have to see it to believe it, you didn't have to believe it at all.
Right.
Yeah. And what was so telling about what you just shared was when you said you joked about smelling the leather, right? So because it was a joke and you didn't believe it, that's why it's hard to believe, right? If you literally though had imagined what that leather smelled like, not from a joke standpoint, but I can smell the leather, that actually would move you closer to that dream. So yeah, but you absolutely have to believe it in order to see it. So thank you. All right, so with that, where do you begin? Well, choose to work on you every day. All right, and it's about progress, not perfection. So here are the steps to start. So the first thing that I have the people who are participating in the Dream Guide program do is I have them write down 100 dreams across the following categories: personal development, relationships, career and business, spiritual, financial, health, free time, family, and legacy. And one of the interesting things, and I know Barb had this experience, Adam is having this experience, Michelle and I had this experience, is that when we did this exercise, it was pretty easy to come up with the first 15, 20, 25, 30, 50, 60, and then it got tough. It got really tough because it really is. What I noticed for myself was I began placing those same constraints on the dreams. Like, is it reasonable? Can I really? And so, but the whole purpose behind coming up with 100 across those categories is that it really allows you to begin stretching yourself and identifying those things that are really, really important to you. Step number 2, get out there and download a certificate of achievement. So go out on Google Certificate of Achievement, for the biggest goal. So of the 100, what's the biggest one? What is the dream or goal that you really, really, really want in life? And then fill it in and date it, and then put it where you see it every day. Post it on your mirror in the bathroom. Post it above your bed. Wherever you're going to see that thing every single day, that's where you want it to be. Write out your perfect day. I gave you some examples of that. You can go back and watch the recording and see that. Determine your top 5 values that are going to guide you in those decisions. So what are your values? And then put it all together by answering the questions: who am I? What do I stand for? What are my values for myself, my family, and the world? Again, if you went through the class, go back into your workbook from class, into your binder from class, and find that going inside process that we did. It was a front and back, just to remember what it looks like. It's a front and back. There were 6 different questions, and we gave you some time during the class to think about them. I would encourage you to go back and redo that exercise. Pull that thing out and answer those questions again, and put it all together and really get clear on what your vision is for yourself. All right, how am I doing on time? Look at that, right on time. So are there any questions that anyone has based on anything that we've talked about so far tonight? Anything about dreams, about vision, about what the steps are? Any questions? Oh, hi, Evelyn.
Hi. I've been listening. So one of the things that I just had a quick comment, and it was based on what Barb said, that she was going to spend some time really, the next couple weeks get to know. And this is the time of year I love, is really to reflect on 2017. What are you going to do differently going forward? What's 2018 going to look like? And so I love this time of year, and I wrote down a couple notes on this webinar, and thank you, Kevin, because I think it was fantastic. And so you gave me a couple more things to think about. So I just wanted to thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Kevin, I had a question. I guess I'm confused on the difference between a vision and a dream, or are the terms interchangeable?
Yeah, so they really pretty much are. Your vision and dream, you can use them interchangeable, okay, right? Interchangeably. So my vision is really where do I see myself? Who am I? What do I want to be? So that would be the dream. The goals are kind of steps towards that dream. Again, going back, it's the goals are, what do you want? And the vision or the dreams are, who do you want to be?
Okay.
Great question. Anybody else? Adam? Michelle? Anybody? Bueller? Bill? All right. So upcoming classes. We have a couple classes set up for our 3-day High5 intensive class. That is our 3-day class. So the next one is February 9th to 11th in beautiful San Diego. And we do still have a couple seats available in that one. May 4th to 6th, we will be in sunny Chicago, Illinois. For our Midwestern friends and people on the East Coast, if you don't want to come all the way out to San Diego, come join us in Chicago. We do have a couple seats left in that class. And then the next class after that is in September. If you are a High5 graduate, an intensive 3-day graduate, then our next High5 Evolve, our next level class is the Evolve class, which is amazing. And the next one of those will be April 21st and 22nd in San Diego. And our next High5 Live is going to be on January 23rd. So we're changing, for 2018, we are changing the day of the week. It's going to vary from month to month, so stay tuned for that. But this is going to be a Thursday, January 23rd. It says 2017. There's an error. My first error of 2000. I made it almost all the way through 2017 without making a mistake. Here we are, 2018. January 23rd, 2018 is that next High5 Live. And the topic is also about a book by Lewis Howes which is called the Mask of Masculinity. And the subject there is vulnerability. So vulnerability is the new strong. That's one of our core messages, key messages that we have in our class. And even though it's about the mask of masculinity, and it really is a focus for men and why being vulnerable as a man really is a powerful thing. Let's just be clear, this High5 Live is also for women, because those of you that have a man in your life, it will give you a lot of better understanding about why typically men wear the masks that they do, and how you can better deal with them and how you can better communicate with them. So that'll be our next one.
And that's any man. It doesn't mean you have to have a man partner.
Thank you.
It's any, yeah. So if you have a Kevin in your life,
Yes.
it's good to know that.
If y'all want to know how to deal with me in your life,
You have a Kevin in your life. That's a whole other class.
that's another class. Yeah, that's a High5 called the Mask Awesome. That's what that's called. All right. All right. So, you know, we want these High5 webinars these High5 lives to be absolutely as valuable as they possibly can be. And we believe that they're valuable, but it doesn't really matter what we think. It only matters what you think, whether or not you think it was valuable. So one at a time, what I'd like to do is ask you on a scale from 1 to 10, how valuable to you was the time you spent tonight? And what was the most valuable? And I'm just going to quickly go through the list here. So Crystal, I'll start with you. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how valuable was the call tonight?
I'm going to give you a 10. I thought you were very informative. I think the High5 Live in general are nice because it keeps my High5 experience, it reignites my High5 experience that I had, gosh, almost a year ago.
Wow.
And I think the most valuable piece was, or is, just acknowledging that I can start dreaming and have a vision again. And I like Michelle, when she mentioned, like, where do I begin? And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, where do I begin? And like she said, just believing in it. And like you mentioned, Kevin, taking it one step at a time. And I think believing in myself and my vision is a good step one to start with. So thank you, everyone.
Absolutely, thank you. And you make a great point, Crystal, that one of the things that we encourage everybody who's listening to this recording is these High5 lives are exactly for what Crystal said. They are sustainability tools. They are to keep that Sunday afternoon or that day 3 feeling that you had when you finished your class, to get that energy and to feel that same sort of feeling that you had. That's exactly what this is for. So by all means, keep coming back and joining us. If there's a topic or something that you want us to cover, then make sure you reach out to me or Barb or one of our team and let us know what those topics are that you want us to cover, and we would be happy to do a webinar on those. So Michelle, scale from 1 to 10, how valuable was tonight?
That's a 10.
Thank you. And what was the most valuable thing to you? What did you get the most out of?
The section where you talked about the 4 steps that Lewis Howes espouses.
Okay.
That was hard to say.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Will I am, scale from 1 to 10, how valuable?
I give you a 10.
Thank you. And what had the most impact?
It's honestly just, and maybe this is partially because of having a little bit of a lead into this, but the concept of writing down dreams, because I've been in the process of it and I'm getting more and more deep into it, and realizing that it was okay that I took a break, but it's really important that I keep going. And that, yeah, I'm going to achieve what I want ultimately by dreaming.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. Adam.
Definitely a 10. Now, I do have one question. Your question was, where do I begin? Shouldn't it be with everything you've taught us? Shouldn't it be, where will I begin?
Thank you. Yes. Where will I begin?
Because it just that just stuck out to me. It's like, you know what, you can say, where do I begin? You can keep putting excuses off. Where will I begin? That's, you're setting yourself a motion, or setting yourself a time frame.
Absolutely.
But like I said, it's a 10, and it helped me to kind of see where I'm at with my dreams, give me ideas, and kind of, I'm trying to break down these barriers that I can dream. I have dreams. I just have to recognize them.
Yep. And the next step for you is to get back on my calendar, and let's keep that process rolling.
I've signed up 4 times.
All right, man. Good stuff. Thank you. And Dominic and Barb and Evelyn, scale from 1 to 10, how valuable?
10.
10. Thank you.
10.
We took a poll. We all agree.
Yeah, it averaged 10.
You
It
got
averaged.
you got a 30.
Thank you. And so what
Oh,
was
wait, there's a
so what?
To me, the biggest benefit was, and I know I've said it to other people. I haven't always followed my own advice that when you're dreaming, I should not tie myself to the result. So if my dream is to play third base for the Dodgers, because I'm not that person, doesn't mean that that dream is a failure or that didn't come true. And what became very clear to me within the context is when you were talking about the young lady you spoke to earlier, and she was mentioning the dream of the orphanage where everybody cared, and you talked about her vibration. So if those dreams remain real to me, then the purpose in my life, whether I reach them or not, raises my vibration, which raises my vibe to a totally different category, whether it comes true or not.
Yeah.
That brings that realism, or the belief in the realism that anything is possible, changes everything. And that I shouldn't tie myself to the outcome. It's the pursuit that makes everything better.
Nice. Well said. Thank you. Barb.
For me, it was the kick in the ass about my own personal dreams. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Evan.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Kevin, I'm with Michelle on the steps because I love the structure of it, and it just made me think, especially, with regards to vision. And then, thank you. I do give you a 10. I was kidding about the 8.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So, the question is, is the Dream Guide coaching program with your CDO, your Chief Dream Officer, is that something that's right for you? And if you're wondering whether or not going through this process is something that would be right for you, then give me a call. Shoot me an email, give me a call, and let's talk about it, because it might be right for you, it might not be right for you. But let's spend some time. You certainly are worthy of it.
My wording is the first one's on us.
And I'm gonna mute y'all. Thank you. Yeah, it's hard to get good. So, is it right for you? Contact me. Give me a call. Shoot me an email. Kevin at High5 Leadership, and let's talk about it, because you're worthy of reaching your dreams. You're worthy of dreaming, and we would love to help you on that journey. With that, I'm right on time. Look at me. Don't break Barb's place. And ring the bell. I gave myself a high five and I rang the frickin' bell. How you like me now? So thank you all for joining us. This is our final High 5 live for 2017. Again, our next one is on January 23rd, 2018. Same bat time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 6:30 Mountain. And we are absolutely on your team. We are just getting started, but I want to wish you a happy holiday season. Enjoy time with your family. Go out, choose joy, spread joy, be love, and know that we're on your team and we love you. So thank you, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.